Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being with us here on A Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And tonight, I will be talking about opportunists. Opportunists that show up in a crisis, that show up to take advantage of a situation, whether it was Standing Rock, natural disasters after, or what is currently happening with this mass migration and the caravans. These opportunists are the vultures that come to take advantage of the moment, but they're also, in many cases, as I have shown you, the people that created the crisis, the people that marketed the crisis, the people that sold you the propaganda about the crisis, and the people that show up to solve the crisis. And they want the government to give them money to do it. Convenient. Folks, I have some very, very important interviews. I'm going to re-share and translate again the correct edited version of the interview I did with a man in Tijuana whose initials are OO. We will only call him that. He was the man that showed me the contract with lawyers from al otro lado. These lawyers who he said are taking advantage of, exploiting the suffering of the migrants. This is the kind of opportunistic people that I'm going to be talking to you about tonight. So I wanted you to hear from the words of the migrants, their own words about what they think about this, and the lawyers groups that are supposedly helping people. You will also hear from another migrant, Mexican named Alex Gomez, who intended to cross the border after we left at some point. He said he was waiting for the fog to come down to give him some kind of cover. But it was an amazingly interesting interview with a man that's been in the United States for over 17 years, that has crossed many times, that has recently been in detention facilities, and how he what he sees the differences between these new migrant caravans of Central Americans and Mexicans that have crossed like himself before. You won't want to miss that very interesting interview of a man who, by the next day, was no longer there, right, dude?
That's right.
We went by there and he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to also talk to you about the opportunists that are in the article that Wendy Fry published in the San Diego Union Tribune, in which they recently released a quote from Evan K. Duke III, the founder of the Caravan Support Network, and protester from Standing Rock, and implicated that there was an FBI investigation going on. They also tried to falsely implicate, using this quote from Evan Duke, that some North Dakota radio show host, meaning yours truly, A Mexican Crossing Lines, was the source of this crazy story about cartels and some guy from the Vegas acts of Siegfried and Roy. I don't know. It's Ivan Riebling dude, who I've never really looked into or talked about on my show. So I don't know why they were making this nonsense up, but they wanted people to believe it. This article by Wendy Fry, who I told you recently went to the shelter where I was just at, the Agape shelter in Tijuana. It talks about the investigation of the FBI of Texas camps. That part I believe. That part I believe could be happening, that these people that are on a watch list that we know of because of, was it San Diego 7?
Yep.
That leaked that story originally?
Yep.
Well, we're going to tell you about some of the people that are at these camps tonight. And I'm specifically going to talk about something that I've been hearing about in the media, which is that people along the border, they're watching as this mass migration is coming through. Undocumented people are pouring over our southern border in places like El Paso, Texas. And they're noticing that there are drones flying along with the people's migration. Drones, not one drone, but several drones. And I wanted to tell you about the drones at Standing Rock because you should know. You should know about the drones and the drone pilots and the ones that are currently down in Texas. Okay? The people that were trained, that learned how to fly drones at Standing Rock and that are currently involved in Texas with these caravan camps, caravan support camps. And those people include Myron Dewey of Digital Smoke Signals, Shiye Bidzill, a.k.a. Dean Deadman, that's his real name, of Drone to Be Wild. I don't know if Aaron Sturgeon, a.k.a. Prolific TheRapper, is involved currently with the caravan support network camps at the border, but he was at Standing Rock, and he is one of the people that trained under Myron Dewey with Dean Deadman et al. And we will also talk about the Indian problem that I told you was hijacked by a pretend Indian named Desiree Kane, who was at Standing Rock, who worked with the Bernie campaign and Winnie Wong and the people that brought you the Women's March. We're going to be talking about a recent post that is attacking an organization and a leader in the Indigenous Standing Rock movement, Indigenous everything, Winona, LaDuke, because Desiree Kane of the Indian Problem, or whoever's posting for them currently, maybe among others, including her, are throwing mud at Winona LaDuke. And this is very interesting since they were all working together as far as I know. They were all allies. People are throwing each other under the bus. You don't want to miss it. We're going to try to get to the bottom of it. I am just documenting here the cat fight between Desiree Kane of the Indian Problem and Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth. And we will talk a little bit more about how, bring it full circle around back to these unethical lawyers like Al Otro Lado that we started this show with, that we started this conversation with, and talk about the unethical lawyers that were at Standing Rock, how they have parallels, how they have overlaps, in fact, to what is happening now with the lawyers that are supporting these caravans. Okay? Because we need to know. So let's just get started. But before I do that, I want to thank you guys who have been sending me messages, screen captures, videos, comments, what have you. Thank you. You know who you are. And I really appreciate all of that information. In fact, I'm using some of it tonight. And please support our work. I know, folks are already asking that we go back to Tijuana.
Oh, yeah. I would love to.
I've had several requests. If you guys want to support the real reporting that you're getting here, firsthand information that we're bringing you here at Mexican Crossing Lines, please support our station's work. Donate to our nonprofit, the People's Press Project, that runs this radio station, because we depend on listeners and viewers like you. Duke, how can they get messages to us and support our work?
Well, I think it's great. I would love to go back to Tijuana. I learned a lot in how to do things, and I would bring different equipment. I learned that my camera doesn't hold that much memory. I screwed up on some of this stuff, but we have a lot of audio interviews that we did capture that we'll be bringing to you. And I'd love to go there again and work with Oscar and other people and then really get the firsthand news that's not being spread through any local media. We're very thankful for everyone who works with us, everyone who's donated, everyone who supported us, everyone who watches us, people who spread our news around and want other people to watch it and listen. I thank you very much for that support. Different ways to get a hold of us. Obviously, one is Facebook, because you're watching it on Facebook now. Maybe not. Maybe you're watching on YouTube. But go to 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead. 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead. That's our main site on Facebook. And then we also have the People's Press Project and Mexi-Can. You can also email us. You can email Cindy at kpppfm.com or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. You can tweet us at media_PPP. And if you want to give us a call and leave a message on our voicemail, our voice line, it's 701 566 0917. You know, we're, as Cindy mentioned, we're a nonprofit organization. We run a nonprofit, non-commercial, community-run radio station in Fargo-Moorhead. We are, accepted by the 501c3 as a charity, so any donations you make to us are tax deductible. You can go to kpppfm.com/donate. You can make a donation, and a lot of you did that, so we could go to Tijuana. You can also, on that same page, look at our past shows. Again, I'm behind two now. Actually, so yeah, I'm behind one last night and one tonight.
Uh-oh.
Oh, well. But I'll get those done soon. It's a Thursday, so I tend to catch up a little bit on the weekends. But the idea is that we want to put the shows up on YouTube so other people can watch them. They don't have to be limited to Facebook because Facebook's always messing around with stuff. And you can go to kpppfm.com, go to the archives or to a Mexican Crossing Lines, look at the shows, listen to the audio files. I prepare many of the audio files to air here locally. In fact, last night's show is airing right now simultaneously when we're doing this live stream. In the future, I'm going to probably do live streaming and on the air broadcasting. We have a few technical things we have to add to what we do. So go to our YouTube channel. It's Duke 1517. It's actually Duke Gomez-Schempp, but the channel's name is Duke 1517. You can go there and you can see the broadcasts. I upload them right after the shows are done on Facebook. They go up in high definition. I cut the music in the beginning and the end because then that way we don't have any copyright infringement issues. Even though we use copyright-free music on all these shows, for some reason we get tagged with having copyright infringement, even though they're non-copyrighted music. So I make sure that stuff doesn't go on our shows on YouTube. Go there and click the bell, subscribe. We need more subscribers. It's really hard, Some people like Oscar, he's 1,000 subscribers a day. We've been nickel and diming our way up, We're at like 750. But I'd like to see us hit 1,000. It's taking a lot of work on that channel. So please go there, support us in ways that you can, and keep on listening, and thank you.
Yes, and I feel an urgency to share this information. I want it to be shared widely and listened to widely because there was a lot of bad that came out of what happened out at Standing Rock. We all know that, from the pipeline being built anyhow, to the fact that millions and millions of dollars were stolen, to all of the chaos that ensued, the people that were arrested, the people that were hurt. I learned so much from investigating the case of Kathleen Bennett. And now that I see the way that these people operate, that network, the vast network and resources that this network has to basically implement these massive operations, transnational operations, that I feel an urgency to tell folks and explain it to folks and for folks to learn and understand it because they're currently very heavily involved in what is happening with this mass migration and the caravans. And they want you to believe that this is just organic. This just happened naturally. People are pouring over the, Mexican border into the United States because they just all simultaneously decided to leave their countries of Venezuela, Africa, Cuba, Central America, the Central American Triangle, and all of the other places that they're showing up from, including China and Russia now, because mass migration happens all the time, and there's all sorts of reasons, including climate change. So shut up and deal with it.
Huh.
But I'm telling you, okay? I am telling you, and I believe in climate change. This is not that. All the things that they're telling you about it not being led by Americans, not being led by political interests, is a lie. It's a lie, and it's a cover-up so that you don't realize what's really going on. Anybody that has anything less than complete and total compassion for all of the people coming over the border undocumented by the hundreds, by the dozens, by the thousands. Now we have over 1 million that are already in the United States from Central America. Last month in April, there was over 100,000 apprehensions, the largest in I don't know how many years, decades, folks. If you don't believe your instincts, believe the statistics, believe the words of their migrants themselves about how they're being exploited by these groups. Something has to give. And I want folks to understand that the damage that this is going to cause, not just to the economies, to the sovereignty of both Mexico and the United States and other countries that are involved, but to the topic of immigration in our country. This is opening some very deep wounds and just causing new problems when we haven't solved old ones. So I want to start off by having you listen again to the interview of Mr. O.O., who I interviewed after I spoke to Nicole Ramos of Al Otro Lado in San Diego at the ABS conference. And she was asked, among other questions, whether she was working with the right to work, with a permit, with a work authorization, and is licensed to practice in Mexico. To which she answered no, because she's not doing that. She only takes clients in the U.S., and that the people in Mexico that Al Otro Lado is working with are only receiving Know Your Rights trainings. Then I crossed the border and I interviewed this guy, and he showed me he received legal advice, had a contract to prove it, a card that gave him access to his file online, and stapled to that card was, destroy this evidence before you cross the border.
Yeah. Dum, 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 dum.
It's true, guys. It's really true. I showed it all on my show. If you want to go back and watch the last two shows, my last show was about pseudo-activists, and the show before that was about the Tijuana, San Diego report.
Yes.
And by the way, folks, he told me he did not believe, instantly he did not believe what they told him, which in any other situation would be great news, because he said, they said, you're going to get asylum. And last time we had the last parts of the clips, but I said there was some clips missing. They were the first 2 clips. So here we are going to start from the beginning.
Yes.
Of the interview. We missed the beginning part of the interview. Went away somewhere. Here it is. Buenas. Cindy Azucena Gomez-Schempp. Vengo de Radio 88.1 FM y estoy haciendo una investigación sobre los grupos que están dando asesoría legal. Hi, my name is Cindy Azucena Gomez-Schempp. I'm with 88.1 FM radio, and I am here doing investigations into the groups, legal groups that are giving legal advice to the migrants here. Hoy acabo de venir a una conferencia de académicos en San Diego, en donde aparecieron licenciados de esta organización. Today, and I'm holding the contract that he gave me in the card that says his file information, okay? And I'm showing it to him, and I'm saying, I just came from an academic conference in San Diego where a lawyer from this group was speaking. Y yo les estaba preguntando acerca de su trabajo aquí. Ellos me dicen que no están dando asesoría legal. They were asked about their work here in Mexico, and they said they weren't giving legal advice here. ¿Es cierto que no están dando asesoría legal, o a usted sí le dieron asesoría legal? Fíjese que is it true that they are not practicing law here and not giving people legal advice, or did you receive legal advice from them?
Esos rumores se vienen oyendo desde ya tiempo, desde antes que yo fuera allí, a Clave Caracol.
You know, there were rumors about that, place even before I had heard about them, even before I went to talk to them at the Enclave Caracol.
Pero yo fui a ver, pero eran unos de allá del otro lado.
Sí, y si le some people were saying that, they weren't giving out legal advice there. They weren't giving legal services there. But I went to see at that place, and they were from al otro lado.
¿Me dieron?
Sí, me dieron, pero ellos, yo no...
And so did they give you legal advice? And he said, sí me dieron. Yes, they gave it to me.
Yo no entiendo por qué ellos dicen que uno... ¿Cómo ellos están seguros? ¿Cómo, digo yo, que cómo ellos están seguros que uno va a aplicar?
But the thing of it is that what I don't understand is how they can be sure that one applies. I think he's using that word as meaning like qualifies for asylum.
¿Que uno va a qué?
Que uno va a aplicar para un...
And I said that one would apply for what? And he says that one would
permiso allá.
that one would apply for that permit. He's talking about the request for asylum, okay? These are folks, you have to understand that they're, by and large, the migrants that I talk to, you've seen some of the writing that they use. They have very, I don't know, grade school aged handwriting, penmanship. Many of these folks don't have an extensive education. To give you an example, the average education for Mexicans in Mexico is about a 6th grade education. That's what most general folk can afford. So there's a large swath of the population that doesn't know how to write very well or understand legal terms. Definitely not understand legal terms. As explained to you before, a lot of these folks were talking about how when they went the first time to get the asylum at the border, then they got the number, and then they got a date that they were supposed to come back, and they're going back for their second asylum. And I'm like, nope, don't understand what you're talking about. Okay? So these people are not just being exploited. They're naive people that don't understand what the legal process is. Like I told you, a lot of them have never been to the border. So this man, he's saying, what he's trying to say is, how can they guarantee me that I qualify for this thing, this process, right? Go on, honey.
¿Cómo ellos pueden estar seguros?
Y ellos le aseguraron que
Ellos me
sí.
aseguraron que yo tenía un permiso.
And how can they be so sure? And I said, they assured you that you would have it? And he starts talking before I finish the sentence. And he says, they assured me I would get the permit. He's talking about asylum.
Para el otro lado. Entonces yo quiero saber.
To be on the other side. So the permit to be on the other side. They assured me I would have the permit to go to the other side.
A ver si es cierto, porque yo la primera cita saqué ahí en el garita, era el número de 1818.
Uh-huh. My number was 1118 when I went to pick up my number there at the gate, at the crossing. So when I went to see if it was true, because he said he tried to go see if it was true.
Hoy soy otro número que aquí lo ando cargando en la cartera.
Se le regresó su papel para que no se lo pierda. Ahorita
He said, and now I have a different number that I'm carrying here in my wallet. And then I said to him, here, let me give you back your paper. I was returning the contract plus the little card that I was holding in my hand.
Mi compañero tiene el otro
Bueno.
y le quiero hacer algunas preguntas sobre él, ¿sí?
Sí.
Pero
And also I told him, and so I was holding one of the papers and Oscar had the other. I think maybe Oscar was taking pictures or something with the other one. Anyway, I said my partner has the other one, my colleague has the other, and I also want to ask you some questions about this, about the documents and what they say. Go ahead.
dígame, adelante.
Hace meses saqué el primer número era el primer número 1818. Yo no me quise hacer presente al otro lado porque me dio miedo que me deportaran.
So when I went to get that 1118, it was several months ago, I didn't show up for the date that I was supposed to get my number called because I was really scared of being deported. And he doesn't say of being deported. to Mexico, what he actually means is of being deported to Central America. And you'll hear him explain that. I mean, it makes sense when you hear the other stuff, but go ahead.
No tengo familia. Tengo familia, pero como que no tuviera.
Because, for one, I don't have any family. I mean, I do have family, but it's like if I didn't. So they're estranged, is what he's telling me, and he will, he will elaborate more on this later.
Entonces, cuando hoy me dieron el 2,400 aquí el otro número, y entonces vine yo para.
So then I went and got another number. Now I have the 2,400, and so when I went
Desengañarme, fui allá a Clave Caracol.
to see if it was for real, the whole, the rumors about the legal advisor at Enclave Caracol.
Hablé con unos norteamericanos.
No sabe sus nombres.
No.
I spoke to some Americans of the North, he said. Some North Americans. That's what people in Central America and even in Mexico call Americans. We all just call ourselves Americans, but Mexicans are also Americans. And so they distinguished. I talked to some North Americans there. And I said, do you know what their names are? And he said, nope, I don't.
Allá aparece en el papelito. No sé si en uno de esos dos papelitos.
A ver, déjame ver para ver si aparece allí, porque
No sé si en
como
cuál de los
estoy un poco ya viejita y me falla la vista, tengo que sacar mis lentes. Buenas tardes.
So he said, I don't know, maybe do the names show up somewhere maybe on the papers that they gave me? Like, I said, I don't know. I'm going to put my glasses on because I'm getting a little old and I need glasses, and we're taking a look.
Aquí no.
No, not on here, I said.
Pero yo no me quiero hacer presente porque hoy yo soy cristiano.
So, the thing is, he says, he goes on while I'm looking at the document, he goes on and tells me, the thing is, I don't want to go and present myself there. Because, look, I am a Christian, okay?
La Biblia a mí me dice de que no, maldito el hombre que confía en el hombre.
And I believe in the Bible, and it says there that damned is the man that believes, that has faith in men, not in God. That damned is the man that decides to put his faith in men. And so he says that he doesn't trust these people.
Yeah.
Entonces yo no he confiado en ellos.
So I don't trust in them, he says. I'm a God-fearing person, basically, is what he's saying. And I believe in God. And I don't think these people are for real.
Por eso que yo la primera vez no me dejé ir, hoy esta segunda vez tampoco me voy a dejar ir.
That's why I didn't want to go through with it the first time. And this is also the reason why I'm not going through with it now.
¿Cómo ellos están seguros de que uno va a aplicar? ¿Cómo están seguros ellos, digo yo?
And he repeats, how can they guarantee you? How can they be sure that you will apply? He means that you will qualify. Because, he's going to tell you in a minute here, or you heard in my last show, the part where he says, they guaranteed it to me.
Bueno, yo le voy a decir lo que ella me contestó, porque yo le pregunté. Yo, aparte de...
Ahí está la
el papel. A ver, déjeme verla.
Esta es una firma de ellos.
Deténgamelo para que me ponga los lentes.
Esta es una firma de un licenciado, era uno como chino, como un chinito.
Okay. Y ahí está.
So I was looking at the signature, and he said that the guy looked like he was Asian or Chinese, and that there's a signature on this document, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going to read the name. I think it's Jorpal something that starts with the last name M, and he's the agent signing off on this contract for the legal consultation that this man received. Go on.
Y no pone sí. Jorpal.
Ahí está el nombre de ellos.
Sí, aquí están los nombres.
Ya se entregaron.
Jorpal y wow. Oh, ya le tomé toda la
Aquí están los nombres de ellos.
Yo le
Pero yo le digo a ella que cómo es que ellos aseguran que uno aplica al otro lado.
que sí.
So here's the thing. There was a woman's voice you heard in there, and she was saying, because I said, I was reading the name, of the person and looking at the document, and I read out the name that I could make out, the first name, and the woman that's leaning against the wall there in the picture next to Oscar is the shelter manager. And she is the one that went and found this man and brought me the documents even before he got there. And she was holding them in her hands like, aha, here it is. And then she's the one that says in this, oh, they've given themselves up, because I found the signature of the guy and could read the name. And she says, there they are. They've given themselves up. They've given themselves up. Go on.
Porque
Sí,
ellos me aseguraron
que
que me
que el asilo se lo van a dar.
Ajá, así me
And then he chimes in and says, I just don't understand how they can assure me that I will qualify to go to the other side. And I say, they are telling you that you will get asylum.
Cuando Wilmer iba a entrar a la primera entrevista, tuvo problemas a consecuencia de que dice que un abogado de Caracol estaba antes de que él entrara y que le...
So, the manager of the shelter says that, you know, when another one of their guests went to Enclave Caracol, there was a lawyer woman that was there that caused some kind of an issue or problem for him, and she said something to him.
Dijo, cuando te preguntan, o sea que los instruyen para que les nieguen el apoyo. Prácticamente los están...
So basically, they instruct them, they give them advice that makes them lose their claims. And so they're instructing them to lose, basically, on their asylum claims. And
instruyendo porque ellos van a lucrar con ellos.
Because then they get to keep the money. They're making money off of it.
Entonces, no se lo dan, me quedo con todo.
So if they don't get asylum, then I get to keep the money. That's what the manager of this shelter, who's been talking to hundreds, if not thousands, of the Central American migrants that have been in these caravans since last year, folks, that have had people going to these lawyers that she has observed, that they have observed are crooked. They won't allow them in the shelter anymore because of it. They've seen them marrying people, giving out fake marriage certificates, telling people that they're married when they're not, and to use that in their asylum claim, involved with the same activists that were giving drugs to the migrants in his shelter from the Caravan Support Network, involved with the same migrants that kidnapped an undocumented, unaccompanied minor. You know, this is what she is saying about these lawyers of Al Otro Lado at the Enclave Caracol.
Porque ellos le preguntan, uno se sienta con cada uno de ellos, y lo primero que le preguntan ellos, ¿tiene familia ya? Es lo primero.
So when you get there, you sit down, they sit in front of all of these different people, and the very first thing that they ask them is, do you have family over there on the other side?
Sí.
Sí, a ver, ellos dicen que son ellos abogados y supuestamente uno de ellos va a contactar con otra persona ya, no sé.
So they are lawyers, and they tell you that they're going to contact the people over there on the other side in the United States.
Yo así entendí. Y entonces yo le dije, sí, tengo familia.
Le voy a decir por qué.
So that's what I understood. So I did tell him I had family in the U.S., and then I said, let me tell you why.
Porque ella explicó eso hoy. Yo fui precisamente, vine hasta acá para hablar directamente con esa licenciada, los dos licenciados que están asesorando a mucha de la gente. Y le
So she explained this today, the lawyer from this organization Al Otro Lado, and another lawyer who I had the opportunity to question about what they're doing with regard to, they're giving legal advice to the migrants. And what I asked them was,
pregunté, y me dijo que ellos piensan No hay estadísticas que respalden lo que ellos piensan, pero ellos piensan que van a salir las personas del centro de detención más fácilmente si tienen algún pariente viviendo allí en los Estados Unidos. Eso es lo que...
So they think they don't have statistics to back it up or proof to back it up. But the people of Al Otro Lado believe, that's what she explained at the conference I was just at, that if people are families that have children, have family members in the United States, they'll be able to get out of detention. They'll be allowed to leave the detention facilities. That's what they think.
Dijo, pero no hay nada para respaldarlo. Además, ella dijo que ellos no están haciendo trabajo aquí. Ellos solamente, porque les preguntaron, ¿ustedes están haciendo trabajo como licenciados en México sin tener una certificación legal de poder hacer ese trabajo allá? No, nosotros no estamos haciendo eso, dijo. Nosotros no estamos asesorando a nadie.
So I tell him that she not only said that, but that she did not do legal work or do legal advising in Mexico because all they do is, know your rights trainings. And he laughed. You heard him laugh? Yeah. So anyway, the rest of this interview, we already did on another show. Okay. So I'm just going to move on. If you want to hear the whole thing, I wanted you to hear the first part because it's very impactful. He talks about being a man of God, a man of faith, that he doesn't trust these people, that they're taking advantage, and so does the shelter manager, folks. Okay? So that's one voice, right from the voice of a migrant and somebody that helps migrants in Tijuana. Okay? Here is a third person, Alex Gomez. He was about to cross the border the night that I met him. He was sitting there. If you were watching Oscar's live stream the nights that we were there in Tijuana, the evening that we were walking by the, fence, the border wall, the fence, the slats, in Playas, this man was one of the people sitting on the benches as we walked by, had a big duffel bag and was like in, it was like in camo pants and like, camo wear.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Anyway, this is a fascinating interview. This is the interview I did with Alex Gomez.
¿Cuándo van a venir o qué?
Pues yo ya vengo hasta mañana.
Mañana sí.
Hasta mañana como quiera
Sí,
venir
pues tú
mañana.
ya no vas a estar aquí.
Yo puedo pasar, no sé, ahorita, al rato, mañana.
Sí, pero regálame la entrevista.
La última, eso fue lo más interesante.
¿Cuándo te vas a ir? Si te vas a ir ahorita, te grabo, ¿eh? ¿Te vas a ir ahorita?
Estoy esperando que...
I said, he's saying that he is not sure if he's going to be there tomorrow because he's planning on crossing over to the U.S. side sometime. Not sure when exactly. He said I could leave right now or I could wait a while and leave in a few hours or maybe I'll leave tomorrow. Who knows? And Oscar says, well, if you're going to leave now, I'll film you. And I said, can I please interview you? And then he says...
hay un poco como de neblina.
Okay.
Ay, eso va a ser
Porque lo que más me gustó fue, te digo, me aventé hace, hoy que es jueves, me aventé el miércoles.
Today is a Thursday, right? I went across on Wednesday. And... but he said before that he was waiting for it to be more foggy because it could provide cover for him. And he goes, that's what I like the most, because when I went across the border, the wall, the last time, which was on, what is it today? Thursday, on last Wednesday, I think he meant.
Entonces, mira, me dices, me aventé, estaban dos camionetas de migración y hicieron el cambio, se cambiaron y pum, que brinco.
So I waited. There was two Border Patrol vehicles, and I waited for them to change shifts. And when their shift change happened, I crossed the border.
No sé cómo estuvo la cosa que me vieron.
Platícalo todo para...
¿Qué tiene? ¿Qué tiene?
And I don't know how it is that they saw me, and I'm like, hey, tell it to the camera.
Ya lo estoy platicando.
Pues sí, we'll start filming then. ¿Le das permiso? Es que te estoy pidiendo permiso.
No importa, a mí no.
Okay,
No,
go
he
ahead
said
and
he
film
gives
him.
us
You can do
permission.
video. Go ahead. Okay. Primero, ¿cuál es tu nombre?
Alejandro Gómez.
Tell me your name.
Alejandro Gómez. Igual que yo, Gómez.
Sí, Gómez.
Alejandro.
Todos somos hermanos, ¿no?
A lo mejor,
Because maybe
a lo
we're
mejor.
brothers.
Habemos muchos Gómez, ¿verdad?
I said there's a lot of us
Me
Gomez's.
estabas platicando que estabas pensando cruzar al otro lado
Ujú,
esta noche.
ujú.
¿Y cuál es el plan, o sea, la idea de cruzarte? ¿A qué horas? ¿Cómo lo vas a hacer? ¿Acabas de platicar que estás esperando algo?
Estoy esperando
Yeah, I wanted to know what's your plan, what time you're going to cross, what are your goals. You were telling me you were waiting for something to happen, which is the fog.
la neblina.
Ok,
La neblina.
para que te ayude a dar cobertura, ¿no?
Con la neblina las cámaras no te pueden ver.
Ok.
No te ven.
The cameras can't see you when there's fog.
Y con la neblina caminas en zigzag, y no se marcan tus huellas.
And when there's fog, you walk in a zigzag pattern and they can't find your footprints.
La neblina, como que cubre así.
Ok.
Si caminas en recto, sí se ve que pasas en pasto.
If you walk straight, they can see your footprints because you're stomping down the grass.
Y en zigzag no,
Ok.
no se ve, con neblina menos.
¿Tienes experiencia?
With a zigzag pattern, you can't really see it if you walk that way, especially with the fog.
En brincarte, entonces, ya.
Ujú,
¿Cuántas veces te has brincado?
3 veces.
So you have a lot of experience in crossing over to the other side. How many times have you crossed over? And he said 3 times.
¿Y qué estabas diciendo acerca de tu experiencia en cuanto a que den asilo político allá? Porque estabas en centros de detención.
Sí, estuve en 30, pero bueno, yo soy mexicano, pues los centroamericanos no les dan asilo político.
Ajá.
So what were you telling me? You've been in detention facilities even recently. What were you saying about the asylum seekers and the asylum process that you've encountered in detention? And he said, well, I'm speaking as a Mexican. The Central Americans are not getting asylum.
Por lo que vi y lo que he escuchado, no le dan el asilo. Los tienen ahí días, lo retienen y lo sacan por aquel lado de Tijuana, el otro lado de Consul.
They are not getting asylum. From what I saw, from what I heard while I was there, they just retain them there for several days and then they return them through the port of entry in Tijuana.
Por los deportan.
Ya no se los están dando.
Ya no están dando, por lo que veo, no, a las mujeres, las chavas que están pasando con niños, no. Yo le pregunté a Migra y me dijo,
They're not getting asylum anymore, asks Oscar, and he says, nope. From what I can tell, no. Not even the girls with children. And I asked an agent there.
realmente lo que hacemos, lo estamos haciendo perder el tiempo, que se confíen, y ya cuando están hartos o hartas, los deportamos. Dice, no nos conviene de dar tanto así.
He said, the agent told me that we just keep them here. We confuse them. We let them get confident and think that things are going well. And then when they're, they get tired of waiting, when they're desperate, then we deport them.
A tanta gente.
We can't give asylum to so many people.
Y ustedes los mexicanos, tú estás aquí, agarra y te saco. Me saca de aquí.
But, you're Mexican, so we'll just deport you back to Mexico. This is where they brought me to deport me.
Por el consulado me brincan, nomás me brincan. Me tienen un día para otro y me sacan.
They only have me for like 24 hours from one day to the next, and then they let me go.
Pero no me han deportado. Un migra solamente me dijo, un migra, tienes 5 años de deportación, y solo me reí y le digo, tú no eres juez para que me digas que estoy deportado.
They've never deported me, actually. The immigration agent told me you're being deported because they basically INS or immigration just it's like a revolving door. People from Mexico that go into the United States go into detention. They self deport basically. They self return, but it's not considered deportation if you do it to yourself. You just leave. And he says, this agent tried to tell me, you know, you're deported for 5 years. And he says, you can't make that decision. A judge has to decide that.
Solamente un juez, cuando firmas, te hace firmar y ya. Pero mientras un migrante puede decir que estás deportado. Ya me abrí.
So only a judge can make you sign a paper that says that you are agreeing that to being deported, and that's not what happens to me. So.
Entonces, eso fue el miércoles, no me he brincado hasta ahorita. Entonces, cuando el momento adecuado.
Okay.
Pero lo más emocionante fue, te digo, el miércoles que me brinqué, el martes, y me aventaron a 4 perros.
So that I haven't tried to cross since they, you know, turned me back over to the Mexican side last Wednesday, and now, you know, until now. And the most exciting thing that happened the last time I crossed the border is that they had me chased by 4 dogs.
Y los perros no me pudieron encontrar.
And the dogs couldn't find me.
Yo pensé que me ibas a decir que te lastimaron.
I thought you were going to tell me they injured you.
Entraron casi los 40 minutos, no pudieron encontrarme. Los americanos bien enojados, los migras, eran americanos.
They were looking for me for almost 45 minutes and they couldn't find me. The immigration agents were really angry.
Porque yo cuando entro, yo sé táctica de meter, yo corro en zigzag, corro así.
Because me, when I go in, I know tactics and I run in a zigzag and they couldn't find me.
Y se me están siguiendo, como ya hice zigzag, trazo una línea así vertical. Y luego brinco 2, 3 y me escondo.
So if they're following me, I run in a zigzag and then I come back in a vertical. I jump 2 over and then I hide.
El perro no te encuentra porque el perro va así. Y luego sabe que llegaste y luego sabe que regresaste, pero de aquí ¿qué hiciste?
So then the dog, what it does, it knows that you went in a zigzag, right? And then it knows that you went back in a vertical line, but then when you hopped, it doesn't know what you did. It gets confused. Where are you from? And he said, Mexico City, the capital. And those people are called Chilangos. And I said, Chilango, huh? And he says,
Yes.
Capitalina.
He says, yes, from the capital, 100%.
Como sea. Es igual.
¿Y has estado viviendo aquí en Tijuana o te veniste de México para cruzar?
Me vine de allá, me vine del DF para acá para cruzarme, tengo 2 semanas aquí.
So, did you come from there to here to cross over? He said, yes, I came here to cross to the other side. I got here 2 weeks ago.
¿De qué parte de la ciudad?
De Coyoacán.
Coyoacán, okay.
He said he's from Coyoacán. That's the part of Mexico City that he's from.
Okay, y ¿cuántas veces te has quedado allá y por cuánto tiempo te has quedado en los Estados Unidos?
Yo he vivido allá.
How many times have you gone into the United States and for how long have you stayed inside of the United States?
Ya 17 años.
Wow.
Y esta vez vine porque mi hija cumplió 15 años. Salí de allá para acá, me fui a México, la fiesta de mis hijos. Me decían mis cuates, no te vayas. Digo, es que mi hija cumple 15 años, no puedo decir que no.
So he said, the reason I'm going this time is because he said he's been in Mexico, been living in the United States for 17 years. And I said, wow. And he goes, the reason I'm going back now is because my daughter is having her 15-year quinceañera. It's a pretty important date for us Mexicans, right, Duke? You know about that?
I sure do.
And it's kind of like a sweet 16, but you know, there's church involved and all that.
That's right.
It's a religious celebration for Catholics. Anyway, folks, he couldn't miss it, so he said he had to go. And his friends were telling him, "Don't go." I mean, he said, "Dude, I can't miss it." Told his friends he can't miss it. It's his baby's 15-year celebration.
Quinceañera.
Sí, llegué y ya me regresé.
Y cuando
Han sido como 11 veces que he entrado y salido.
o sea, ves a tu familia,
Y me regreso. Estoy unos 3, 4, 6 meses y me regreso.
vas a...
Sorry. I've gone into the United States 3 or 4 times. I stay for a certain amount of months, 6 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever, certain amount of years. Then I come back.
Y te regresas a tu... ¿Qué haces en la Ciudad de México?
No.
Mi oficio es
Excuse me. He said he's been into the United States 11 times. I got my numbers confused. He said, I've crossed into the U.S. 11 different times. Each time I stay a different amount of times, sometimes 3 to 4 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes some years.
Vidriero. Hago grabados, vitrales, en cristales y espejos. Shower door.
Y tiene...
Shower door. Hopefully you guys heard shower door, right? I asked him what his trade was back in Mexico, and he said that in Mexico he does window glass etching and all the things that you can do to glass. And then he said shower doors.
Shower door. ¿Te interesa quedarte en los Estados Unidos o prefieres
No,
poder...
no me interesa. No, esta vez solamente vengo por 5 años a trabajar. Tengo una meta, pero...
So why do you have a desire to stay in Mexico or not? And he said, no, not really. I just have a goal of working for a certain amount of years, like 5 years.
Acá en México, lo que quiero hacer, 5 años acá y ya me regreso. Yo no quiero estar acá. Yo estuve 17 años.
And then I will go back to Mexico. I just need to, raise some money. But I don't want to be in the United States. I want to go back and live in Mexico.
¿Prefieres estar en México?
Sí, 1000 veces. Ya con lo que quiero hacer voy a lograr primero Dios y ya estar acá.
Yeah, of course, 1,000 times over. I just want to raise some money to live more comfortably in Mexico. And then when I have it,
Más quiero estar 5
I just want to be here for 5 years working so I have the money.
que haga primero lo que voy a hacer porque si lo voy a lograr con mucha fe. Ya me regreso a México. Ya me establezco allí.
And I'll be
¿Qué has
established.
visto desde que has estado aquí en cuanto a las personas que se están brincando de Centroamérica? ¿Y qué diferencias ves en lo que has hecho tú como mexicano y otros mexicanos que has visto que se cruzan a los centroamericanos?
I asked him what the difference was between Central Americans crossing over and Mexicans who, obviously have more experience with it. Go.
Lo que he visto, el centroamericano no, como que no tiene un objetivo para brincarse, o sea, como que ellos vienen así como a la aventura.
What I've seen is that the Central Americans don't have any plan about how they're going to cross. They're just like on an adventure.
Eso es lo que he visto y platicando con ellos, dice ellos vienen a ver si paso. Ya si pegan, pegaron y si no, como que no tienen claro lo que vienen a hacer y vienen más por el asilo político.
So it seems that they have no plan. They say things like, well, I'm going to see if I can cross over to the other side. It's not like they're sure that they can do it. And, if it works out, it works out. And if it don't, well, then, they're more really here to request political asylum.
Eso es lo que vienen.
Pero me estabas
That's what they're here for.
Que no se los están dando.
No.
¿Ellos saben que no se los están dando?
But you were just telling me that they're not giving them asylum anymore. And do they know that they're not giving out asylum anymore?
No saben, hasta que están adentro después de 9 días que están con migración.
No, they don't even figure it out until they've been there in detention for 9 days.
Un día con migración le dicen no hay asilo.
And then
Les hacen creer que sí.
they let them
Los
think that there
seleccionan que
is,
sí.
but then after 9 days they tell them there's no asylum for you.
Y ya cuando la gente está harta, los deportan.
¿Te consta porque te lo dijeron o porque lo has
Lo he visto.
escuchado? ¿Tú has escuchado
Lo he
que
escuchado y los he visto. Cómo
¿qué
los
les
deportan.
dicen?
Sí, y los deportan por la puerta trasera.
Did they tell you that or did you hear it? I've seen it, he said. I heard it and I've seen it. They deport them out the back door.
Bueno, pero estoy preguntándote que si tú has visto que les están dando alas de que se van a quedar, que van a tener asilo político o que ellos te lo cuentan.
He escuchado cuando migración les dice.
So I just wanted to assert, did you notice that the immigration agents were letting them believe, you know, giving them wings to believe that they were going to get asylum. And, or did they tell you that themselves? He said he's heard it and he's seen it.
Sí. ¿De dónde eres? No, pues soy centroamericano. ¿De dónde eres? No, pues soy por ejemplo de Honduras. Quiero ser político, le dicen, te lo vamos a dar, de momento no. Te vamos a dar unos días, estás bien y te vamos a deportar. Es lo que hacen.
Entonces,
So, you know, I've heard, you know, they ask them, where are you from? Are you Central American? You know, like for example, from Honduras. And then they tell them, you know, we're going to give it to you, but not right now. And then they just don't give it to them and they deport them.
están haciendo perder tiempo.
Sí, o sea, te ilusionan, te hacen creer que te va a dar asilo político, pero no te lo dan. Ya cuando hay una ven como de 12 personas, 9 personas, te sacan por la puerta trasera.
So they just make them believe that they're going to get it. And they just kind of keep waiting until there's enough to fill a van of 12 people. And then they deport them through the back door.
Okay.
Yo los he visto y los he escuchado. No me lo han dicho, por ende no te lo dicen. Solo un inmigrante le dijo en inglés a otro, ellos creen que se van a quedar con el asilo, pero déjalos que sigan creyendo.
¿Qué opinas tú sobre el hecho de que personas con las que tú has hablado que dices que no parecen tener un plan concreto, están pidiendo el asilo que es a base de que están huyendo de una muerte muy probable, muy cierta, si ellos son regresados a sus países?
Sí, la mayoría dice eso. A mí yo les pregunto por qué estás aquí sin que me interese, pero dicen que porque tienen problemas con los vecinos, porque no hay trabajo.
Many of the migrants have said that they're requesting asylum on the basis that they're fleeing their country because they face certain death. He said, responds, yes, I've talked to, that's what the majority of them says. I've talked to them and asked them why they left their country, and some said that their neighbors were attacking them, and others that they couldn't find work.
Porque los están siguiendo para matarlos, perseguirlos, y tienen miedo de regresar, que si es un hecho que regresen, es muerte segura.
And that they've told me that somebody is following them that wants to kill them, and that if they go back to their country, it's sure death.
Acaban con su familia, que por eso prefieren estar aquí, batallar o
Pero,
al último pasar.
pero
And that's why they prefer to be here, they say, because they would rather be here with their families or try to cross over than to go back. And I said, but
cuando ves que no tienen un plan o no tienen algo concreto y dicen, bueno, vengo a ver si, vengo a ver si puedo cruzarme, ¿piensas que están realmente hablando en serio acerca del temor que tienen o piensas tú que quizás simplemente estén diciendo algo que les dijeron para que ellos pudieran pedir el asilo? ¿Qué opinas? ¿Tienes algún...
So when you see that these folks really don't have a plan and that they don't seem to be equipped to cross over or know what the process of what they need to do is, do you truly believe that they're fleeing this certain death, or have they just been coached to say that in order so that they can claim asylum? What's your opinion on that?
Un referente de las personas que te están platicando.
Do you have any reference
yo he escuchado
of
mucho
that?
eso, que todos dicen algo muy similar, pero he entrevistado y he estado
'Cause I've heard a lot of them say that.
licenciados que están enseñándoles a las personas cómo.
And I've been investigating these lawyers that are coaching people on how they can make a claim of asylum.
Cómo tienen que hablar y cómo se tienen que
How they pass their
expresar cuando
credible
están en
fear
su primera
interview,
cita.
their first
Entonces,
interview.
Tienen que ponerse de acuerdo.
Tienen que
And he said, yeah, they have to put their, they have to get on the same page.
tienen que saber qué decir para poder pasar esa primera cita para que
They
les
need to
den
know what to say
una
to pass
fecha
the
de
first
audiencia.
credible fear interview
Por lo mismo te
and get
digo
that second
que
interview,
muchos dicen
the hearing date.
similares cosas. La pandilla tal y tal me estaba pidiendo dinero, si no les das,
That's why they say very similar things, like the gang, such and such gang was demanding that I pay a certain amount of money, extortion fees.
o mi hija la iban a violar, lo mismo lo
Or they say my daughter was going to be raped by
Te pregunto a
them.
ti que has hablado con estas personas,
I've heard a lot of the
¿tú
same
sentiste
stories
que,
from these migrants. And I'm
esas
asking you,
historias que platicaban eran verídicas?
because you've talked to a lot of them.
¿Tenían ese temor?
Un 50%, 150% que no, porque
Do you believe their claims that they're all fleeing and requesting asylum on the basis that they're fleeing for their lives? And he said, 50% of them I do and 50% I don't.
yo cuando hablo así con ellos en confianza y solitos sueltan la sopa, dicen que son muy pobres.
Because when you talk to them in confidence, after a while, they let the cat out of the bag on their own, and they tell you the real reason is that they're really poor.
Y que van a dar la versión de que los persiguen para que les crea Estados Unidos y les den asilo político. O sea que
And that they're going to give the authorities the version that they're fleeing for their lives, that somebody is after them, and they're going to try and kill them so that they can request political asylum and go to the United States.
unos vienen con engaños y otros sí vienen con que los están siguiendo realmente los salvatruchas.
Some of them have been naively been lied to and brought here under false pretenses, but others are truly fleeing from certain death, from the gangs, etc.
Ese tipo de cosas. Pero escuchas sus historias y solitos se contradicen y te das cuenta que nomás buscan como la estabilidad o salir de su país por pobreza o...
But a lot of them do, when you start listening to them and talking to them longer, contradict their own stories, and you find out that they left their country because they have a lot of poverty, because they're seeking a better life.
Ninguno de ellos han hablado de ser asesorados por diferentes licenciados.
No.
¿Tú como mexicano nunca te han asesorado los que andan aquí de licenciados ofreciendo ayuda?
No, pues realmente por aquí no ves ni licenciados. Desde el gobierno no hacen.
So, have you heard, do you know any migrants that have received legal advice from these lawyers groups that are offering free legal? No, he said right away. And I said, have you as a Mexican been offered any legal advice, legal help by these groups? He goes, there's no lawyers around here.
Nada menos un licenciado. Un licenciado, para empezar, sus honorarios hay que pagarles. Si no tienes dinero.
Because first of all, lawyers cost money. And if you don't have money to pay the lawyers, then
Son licenciados americanos que son gratis.
they're nobody's going to help you. And I said, they're American lawyers and they're pro bono.
¿Crees?
Yo no creo eso, pero ellos es lo que...
You believe that? He said. And I said, no, I don't believe that. But that's what they say.
Dicen.
Yo no creo.
I don't believe it.
Gratis.
No, es mentira.
I said, he goes, I don't believe it. I said, well, they say they're pro bono. And he goes, well, that's a lie.
Nada es gratis en esta vida.
Nothing is free in this life.
¿Que les están cobrando?
Sí, sí te cobran.
Do you know that they're charging them? He goes, yes. Yes, they charge you.
Si cobran, o al menos si no cobran, lo hacen con el propósito de ver dónde vas a pasar, qué vas a hacer, ¿no? Quieren sacar como tácticas, ideas.
If these people are doing anything for free, it's only so that they can get information about you, your case, where you're crossing, what's going, to learn tactics and gather information.
O hacen disfrazarse de licenciados realmente, pero no es eso.
They're pretending to be lawyers, maybe, but that's not what they are.
Te das cuenta en su plática, en su comportamiento, su objetivo, te das cuenta que te están cuenteando, te están engañando.
When you talk to these people and, by their mannerisms and their words, you realize that they're just lying to you.
Oye, ¿no tienes miedo de lastimarte?
No, esa cosa me la brinco en un minuto, subo y bajo.
And aren't you scared of injuring yourself? No, I can climb and get down the other side of that wall in 1 minute.
¿Sí?
Wow.
Yep, it's true. 1
Es que
minute.
no es difícil.
It's
Créeme
not.
que no es difícil. Todo
It's
está
not difficult.
en la fe.
It's all in your
Yo,
faith.
para mí, mi fe, sin fe no haces nada.
Without faith, you can
Puedes
do
tener
nothing.
voluntad, pero si no tienes fe,
Even if you have
yo,
will,
como le digo a mi familia,
without
si no
faith,
estuviera yo aquí.
can't do it.
Pues realmente
I
no
wouldn't
es
be here
difícil.
if I didn't have faith.
Subes,
You go up
te
to the top,
tiras, aquel lado del tubo
you
está la
gyrate,
lámina, y aquí te pones los pies,
you put your
descansas,
feet,
te deslizas, te
then you
agarras,
slide down. Boom, you're down.
corres, te giras,
You
te
run,
vas allá, y en 7
go over
pasos
there.
estás del otro lado.
Before you know it, you're on the other side.
Corres.
You just
No es
run.
difícil.
It's not hard.
Es,
It's.
a mí me gusta las
I like it.
emociones,
It's exhilarating.
me gusta,
I like
me gusta
strong
cuando
emotions.
migración.
I like getting chased by immigration agents.
Me gusta sentir cómo explota la adrenalina.
I feel like how your blood
Ya
is
cuando
racing
pasas
through
las
your
puertas y
heart,
estás del otro lado.
and then you're on the other side.
Wow.
Me gusta, me
I
gustan
like
las
it.
emociones fuertes.
I like strong
Por lo visto,
emotions.
Por lo visto.
I guess I see that. I see that.
Pero no soy de los que río tan fácil, ¿eh?
I don't give up easily.
No me gusta que me digan, no,
I don't like somebody to tell me
eres
that
un
you're
reprobado, eres un
you,
fracasado.
you failed. You
O sea
fail.
que si
You're a
no lo
failure.
logras hoy,
So if you
mañana
don't
vas a volver a estar aquí y
make
vas
it
a seguir
tonight, you're
estando
going to be
aquí
back
hasta
here
que
tomorrow, and you're going to
No,
keep
mañana
coming
vas a
back
estar aquí,
until
mañana te estaré por muy
you
decepcionado.
cross. No, I
Mañana
won't be here
te
tomorrow because I'm crossing tonight and I'm getting over.
y lo vas a lograr.
Sí,
And you're
ya
going to
sé.
make it, huh?
Ya me
Yep.
analicé, me
Yep.
preparé
I already got myself mentally ready,
mentalmente,
emotionally,
en todos los sentidos.
in every
Voy a venir
way,
mañana.
in every possible way. I prepared myself.
Ya no vas a ver aquí mañana, voy a estar al otro lado primero.
I'm going to be coming back here tomorrow to
Gracias
see
por
if
la
you're still
entrevista.
here. And he goes,
Cuídate mucho.
you won't find me here tomorrow because I'll be on the other side. All right, thanks for the interview.
Wow.
So, folks, that's what's going on. But as you've heard now from 3 different people in Mexico that are well aware of what's going on with these lawyers, something ain't passing the smell test, folks. Something isn't right. And the reason for that is that these people like Luis Moncevias, whose mugshot I showed you on my last show yesterday, one of these many people with their criminal pasts, what they are doing with regard to these caravans is not just unethical, it's likely illegal, which is probably why they're being questioned by or investigated by CBP, Homeland Security, the FBI, etc., etc., etc. Not because, as Wendy Fry tried to make you believe through Evan Duke's quote, some radio show host has the power to make all of these things happen. And not because I would be talking about some conspiracy theory nut job story like the one involving, Tiger Man.
Yes.
But
Siegfried.
and Roy. But instead, because they be crimin', folks. They be crimin'. They tell you themselves. I wanted to play this because a lot of you haven't heard it. And it's important for you to hear. This is Luis Moncevias, former felon, same guy that was, in that article that I told you about with the other former felon accused of rape. Well, not convicted of rape. With the last name Gutierrez as well. But his name was really like Ragabo or something like that. Pete Heflin was the name of the person that they arrested, but he also went by a different name. Check out my last show. This Luis Moncevias is now involved. He's working with the same people that were at these other pipeline fights. These people who say, we didn't know they were involved in doing criming, are lying to you. They knew, and many times they covered it up. They didn't care because they wanted to keep on criming and making money off of that criming. So Luis Moncevias is going to talk about how he makes money off of being a human trafficker. Essentially, he describes being a coyote and being very good at it. It's a family business. Here you go. This guy that I just talked about in my last show, one of the many examples of what can go wrong and how much of these activists go wrong, go the wrong path, do criminal things, do violent things, and how it's all involved now with the caravan. This is Luis Moncevias talking about being at the Rio Grande and how he is going to be crossing people illegally. Here's his video.
This isn't what the news outlets have allowed you to understand. This isn't human trafficking. There is 2 or 3 different ways of human trafficking. And the way that we went about it, we were a family-run industry. We took damn good care of every individual that came with us in every route in every direction. And we have all those people that will vouch and will pull for us and for myself. We were bringing in people that were asylum seekers, were also people that wanted to get here on all scales. There was none. We would have been shut down by our bosses and our leaders in a heartbeat if there was any wrongdoing to any of our family members that we were helping. It is a business. Yes, it is a money-ran business where one particular person or persons or group provided a service to be able to transport individual people that were picked and chosen by families to come towards these companies, say so to speak, because we were good at what we did. We were fair about what we did. We helped our people. And this is one of the things that I haven't talked about to many people. I will always be proud of what I've done. I will always take it with honor of the people that I helped. I will always take that to the other side, knowing that I did my part to help.
Okay, folks. I know he sounds like he's crazy, only because he totally is. But the fact is that he's describing smuggling people across the border for money on a live stream that he posted and made public.
Yep.
This guy was working with all of the same shady people that were the pseudo activists at Standing Rock. They called themselves water protectors, and they are now involved at the border camps. This is a video of himself, Luis Moncevias, one of the many drone pilots that are involved in all of this. Now that drones are coming into the picture and being discussed, that there's pilot drones that are helping the move migrants across the border. Folks, let me direct you to some of the drone pilots I ran into at Standing Rock, because just like I keep running into activists that were at Standing Rock in the caravan movement, I think I'm going to keep on running into drone pilots too. We already seen them in Mexico. I told you Myron Dewey was flying illegally in Mexico.
Oh yeah, we showed proof of it.
We showed proof that he was flying illegally in Mexico. And along with the drone pilots is Evan Duke a lot of the time, because he's all about that intelligence. He may, in fact, even be one of the drone pilots himself, or he may, but he does definitely hang out with those drone pilots. Another one of those people is Luis Moncevias. And another fraud that I recently exposed, Terrence Daniels. Remember, he was the one that was raising money off of the California wildfires and the suffering going on there, and telling people that he was gathering donations to buy people in California masks. He wasn't. He profited off of the Puerto Rico Hurricane Maria, and he profited off of the California wildfire disasters, taking money from people that were in disaster areas. That's how disgusting these people are. But let Terrence Daniels tell you for himself how these folks use drones and what they use them for. Here's a clip.
Oh, good. I got a live feed going on. Hello, everybody. This is the drone portion of our show. I guess is what we'll call this. And I'm here with a young man that I've been traveling with. He's got his new drone. We want to kind of introduce him. We want to give him props because he's fantastic at what he's doing. He's just not a drone pilot, but he's a water protector, earth protector. He was side by side with all of the family at Standing Rock with this here. He's got his brand new Maverick Pro, and let's show a little bit. Let's go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us all know, the people that are out there that don't know who you are.
Well, I'm Terrence Daniels. I run an organization called Support the Revolution. I'm a technology activist, so we try to use technology to to give the people an upper hand. So if we make apps, we do vertical farming, we use drones to expose corruption and pollution, police brutality like we did in Standing Rock events like we're doing here. But the point really is to use technology to help the people and not just to sell some sort of product.
Not just to commercialize something, but they lie. They're all about commercializing things and making money. And the other person is crazy and apparently addicted to something.
Yes.
Orlando Cruz.
Oh,
As you know, this guy, I've already showed you, crazy guy, drone pilot, already was out at Texas camps with Myron Dewey and Doug Warren and Lilith Sinclair and Vanessa Dundon and Myron Dewey and all those other people, right? Myron, what's his name? Mason Bobby Leonard, the camp security guy, who's also a drone. I'll show you that in a minute. But here's a video of Orlando Cruz talking about how he wants to use drones and where he wants to get them from.
One moment, please. Sometimes they take a while to load up.
He's at a hotel. Orlando's at a hotel near the camp. I think they don't let him stay at the camp because he's on drugs all the time.
Yeah.
To find out the drone laws, and these are things. This is one thing that I would love to get. I need to get me a press drone. I need to get me a drone that will not belong to me. Will not belong to me. Everything's pretty much paid for. It's got to be all in one package. Because once I start putting my information, then everything comes back to me. So I need to make it to where things don't come back to me. So just in case it does get taken away, nobody can get arrested for it. They will just have that. And I will have all the video. Well, most of the video, but most of it will be in the drone. So we need to figure out a lot of things to do. Me, I'm a drone pilot that, I don't really follow too many of the FCC laws or anything, but, I stay away from airports, I stay at a low level. I ain't trying to go high or anything, I'm more into capturing what's down on the ground, but on a closer view so people can see it. I'm out there to bring stuff that normally people can't see because it's so far away for us to go over there. And then by the time we get there, there's people in place that are not allowing you to, look and see what's going on. They're stopping you from doing what you're doing. So that's why we use this equipment. But it's that type of. I need a drone that I can travel around, that I can use for protests, that I can use for all this other stuff, and I want it to be the press drone. I want it to be the Native Media Network press drone. But you need a good drone for that. I would love to raise money to get a drone, and it to be a press drone. And not only that, but get the serial numbers and stuff on it. I just don't want to go to the classes. I mean, I've heard stuff from different people as far as how the classes. It's all about reading damn maps. It's all about reading maps.
It's done, almost done.
It's got very little bit to do with flying. But I guess you need to know how to read a map.
Those damn maps.
Yep, you have to read a map.
Those people don't want to follow the laws or read maps or have the drone licensed to them are probably not going to do good things with the drone.
Exactly.
I'm just guessing out loud here, but that's my takeaway. And this guy is terrifying. I mean, we showed you videos of him where what kind of drugs do you think he's taking? I'm not sure, but it looked, his eyes rolled back into the back of his head.
Yep.
Do you remember, Duke?
Oh, I definitely remember.
Terrifying. I literally, when I was watching these videos, it made me feel like he was like possessed.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Watching him. It was so scary.
Mm-hmm.
Gives me the willies even now that I remember it. Anyway, out with him flying around in a drone is also Mason Bobby Leonard, the guy that's in charge of security. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Out at the camp, here he is flying a drone. You can see him flying the drone. He says this is the Born for Bear Presents. I looked up that company. It doesn't exist anywhere. I don't know if you can find it.
Yeah.
And there's Mason Bobby Leonard, and it says A Flying Odyssey. And then it's like up in the air with the drone, and it's snowing. This is one of his older videos where he's showing how he pilots. I've shown you this guy is out there. He's one of the people working with the protesters at these activist camps near the border. What do you suppose they're going to be using these things for? They're telling you they're going to be doing something shady with them. I already showed you Myron breaking laws in the United States and in Mexico with drones. And these people have been charged with stalking people with their drones. Myron Dewey, Prolific TheRapper, in the past.
Exactly.
Here is another drone video that was taken that gives me a better idea of what they're going to do with the drones because of what they're filming around the construction of the wall. Remember how they used the drones to follow where the police were, where people were setting up blockades, etc. They used those drones for reconnaissance at Standing Rock, and they could also monitor the pipeline construction.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Here is what they're doing with it at the border. In this video, you can see they're pulling up from their Yauli village camp and their rules, the sacred ground. This is sacred ground. And then from up above, you can see their camp that they have there. Now they're flying over the cemetery that they're protecting, that they don't want anyone unearthed in. This is a cemetery that they had to clean up because it was basically grown over and abandoned. But they're defending it. That's parts of the wall construction. That's where they keep sections of the wall. See? The wall shut in Mission, Texas.
Yep.
They're flying above the supply area where the equipment for construction is at.
Stacking parts of the wall. There's sections of the wall. They're all stacked in little stacks. Now there's the river that's right by there.
They're over the Rio Grande. Why are they monitoring the river, the place where people are crossing through the water? See what these folks are doing with their drones? Here's one at night. You're not supposed to fly these things at night. They obviously are because they put it in their dang video, Duke.
I see it right there blinking away.
Yeah, and it's got a light on it. If you pay attention, you see the light down on the ground.
Yeah.
Some of these drones have the ability to see heat signatures.
Oh, okay.
So they can see where people are crossing at night. Now they're flying over the National Butterfly Center.
Yep.
Now they're flying over the cypress tree. That one of the things, the sacred things that they're going to protect.
I see.
There at the camp that they've been talking about. And of course, there is the border, that wall that needs to be finished. That just has two tiny sections of it built. You see it? And so now they're flying over that church that's also in the, area, the La Lomita church. There's the border wall construction happening that they're filming with a drone. So they're saying they're out at this camp doing actions nearly every day. They are definitely using the drones. You remember how often we saw the drones flying out at Standing Rock?
Every day.
Every day, all the time. And look, what does it say? Defend Somisek, come on down, witness for yourselves, share the truth, change the narrative. DNA Drone Squadron, drone to be wild. Who's that, Duke?
Dean Deadman.
That is Shiye Bidzill, as he goes on Facebook, a.k.a. Dean Deadman.
Yep.
The person who got arrested after I interviewed him at the Prairie Knights Casino. The person that participated together with Myron Dewey in a whole bunch of shows, basically, these put on staged events where they claimed that they were being harassed, attacked, followed, driven off the road by racist Morton County people.
Yeah.
When in fact they had orchestrated all of these things. Do you remember the Shiye Bidzill was attacked by some racist North Dakotans with masks on their face?
Oh, yeah.
At a Bismarck hotel in Bismarck, North Dakota?
Yep. I remember that.
All of a sudden, this guy came out of the building, that same hotel, and just happened to run outside and catch the license plates of the culprits that did it.
Mm-hmm.
That person was Ryan Vizens.
Ah, yes.
That person was one of the people that covered up the fraud of that, Marcus Mitchell, that said that he got shot in the chest.
Oh, yeah. I remember that guy.
He was a participant in that whole deal that happened here in North Dakota. If you're a North Dakotan and you remember this stuff, you know, you were probably pretty shocked at the time later on. They were in a car and they claimed Prolific TheRapper and Dean Deadman and Myron Dewey that someone tried to run them off the road.
Mm-hmm.
They were claiming that they were being persecuted by the authorities and by racist people in North Dakota the entire time. Many of these things we later learned were staged events, start to finish. Start to finish. Does this sound familiar yet?
Mm-hmm.
Does this sound familiar to the same tactics used in Mexico? Sure, we have not done right by Native Americans in this country, and North Dakota is, high on the list of racist states. But that and making up things out of whole cloth, making up fake hate crimes where none occurred is disgusting to me. Because it pulls on the heartstrings of people that really do want to protect those that are vulnerable to these kinds of attacks. And you're exploiting those feelings that they have to try to protect people under false pretenses in your pseudo-activism that is actually usurping the voices of real people that are experiencing that struggle, many of whom I showed you on my last show are not even Native Americans to begin with, for their own glory and fame and power. And Shiye Bidzill was one of the people that made his name at Standing Rock, recently released a book.
Yeah.
Drone resistance. In your face, he says, drone to be wild. And if you scroll down, this he posted just recently on his page. He is going somewhere. He is giving you the middle finger when he's going there. He's in a car. And you can see that he has a mask on his face.
Yeah.
Do you see he's covered up his entire face so you cannot see him? You can only barely see the slits of his eyes. This is how these folks roll. I'll show you a picture of what he looks like in a minute so you know what to look for in drone pilots down at the border. But if you go to the bottom, you'll see who originally posted this post. It was Mason Bobby Leonard. And he was raising money to go where, Duke?
The Carrizo Camacrudo Nation of Texas.
Right. It says Mason Bobby Leonard is asking for donations. Mm-hmm. If I sold out, y'all would hate me more. I think I'll be a sellout. Don't police my resistance. The message will spread like wildfire, and I'm hungry. Someone offer me a steak, please. I'm in Texas. Good Lord. Haven't had a steak since I hit the front line here. The drone is a reliable tool and a trusted bird. We are the resistance falconers. We fly where others won't. This is guerrilla droning. Are you paying attention, folks? This is guerrilla droning. B.L. Mason, Bobby Leonard Mason. Check out the videos on my YouTube channel, he says. Don't forget to subscribe. And then it says Evolutionary Nomad, Build Village, Save the Earth. And then is there anything else underneath that, Duke?
Nope, there's not.
Then there's Dean Deadman's real face. Here's his face without the coverings on it. This is the guy, folks. If you go and check out my show, Burn, this is the guy that burned buildings, putting people's lives at risk. 2 people had to be treated for serious third-degree burns. One was life-flighted to the Minneapolis area after these yahoos burned down a bunch of structures at Standing Rock. He was among them, and he dedicated these burning buildings along with Mike Fassig, the father of the son that kidnapped and raped a woman at gunpoint and knife point, kidnapped her for a week. They dedicated these burning buildings to 88.1 FM, and to me in particular. This guy, these folks are extremely, extremely dangerous. That's what Dean Deadman looks like. The day after I interviewed him, I was contacted on a messenger video chat by 3 people, 3 women, 2 of whom I had never met. One was a woman, a white woman, pilot, a drone pilot herself named Rihanna Larkin. And the other was Maggie Day, a PR, a publicist from Hollywood, doing work for Wesley Clark Jr. with Seven McDonald and Winnie Wong and Desiree Kane and their whole array of PR machine that they brought to Standing Rock. And this, if you could put this man's face up so people could get a good look at his mug. This guy, who was arrested really in truth when I came to find out later for having meth on him, which he frequently did and did use. You could tell by the way he sits on his jaw all the time when he's talking like this. This man was arrested right after I did an interview with him at the Prairie Knights Casino about whether or not he would be returning to drone piloting, and that's when I was introduced to these 2 women, Maggie Day and Rihanna Larkin. These women, more than any others, connected to the upper echelon of the political campaigns and the Hollywood people, the movers and shakers, the money makers that I've told you about in my past shows, those who are now currently involved in the migration, the mass migration and the caravans also, and in the camps, were white faces, very privileged faces, very prominent faces. And they put their names, they put an Indian face in front of it. Many times these were people they didn't really have complete control over. They hadn't vetted, that had criminal backgrounds, that didn't know jack squat about the issues, or, I mean, this guy couldn't even string a sentence together. He doesn't make sense. I don't know if it's all the meth or if he's just really dumb. But the point here is this, that those are the people that are manipulating everything. They're the ones really behind this indigenous-led movement, this indigenous Central American exodus. It is these white, privileged, rich individuals. Don't let them make you believe that it is about the innocent asylum seekers, or that it is, yes, there are innocent people that have been exploited here by these opportunists. Of course there is. I told you that there is. But what's really going on here is that these opportunists orchestrated all of this to make money off of the suffering of these people, and they're not going to help them. These are one of the people, shown to be Wild Dean Deadman, that was working with the folks, working hand in glove with the folks that came and did the things that they did out at Standing Rock, and that are now doing the things that they're doing out there with drones. Gary Brewer is a veteran, part of the veterans that worked with Evan Duke, part of the veterans groups that went out to Standing Rock, which are now building the camps at the border. And Gary Brewer had this conversation with Bobby Leonard, Mason Bobby Leonard, one of the drone pilots that I just showed you is at these camps. And he is talking about video that these people took with a drone, as you can clearly see in a minute from the clip I'm going to show you. They took these video images of a helicopter, which I think is either, they think it's a military helicopter. He's Gary Brewer, who's a veteran, is identifying this military helicopter as an Army UH-72 Lakota Light Utility Helo, used for scouting. That's what Gary Brewer says. And he's telling the security guy and drone pilot that runs the security at the camp and that does scouting with his drone for the camp, Mason Bobby Leonard, who thanks him and says, time to Google it. And Gary says, we never had this conversation, right? And Mason says, what conversation?
Oh, yeah.
Next, I want to show you that video clip of the chopper that they took with the drone. Check it out for yourselves. They're using a drone to surveil either CBP or Border Patrol. CBP or the military. Here you go. You can see there is a helicopter flying. You want to narrate, Duke?
Sure. We see a helicopter flying in the distance. We see trees down the bottom in kind of a big grassy area. The helicopter is coming closer. It's turning to its left, so you can see a profile of the helicopter. It's flying and it's kind of keeping the same altitude. It's not sure how much is off the ground. Not that high up. It's probably only a few hundred feet, maybe 300 feet. Now it's turned all the way around. It swooped along the trees. Now it's going into the open area. Now it's kind of sitting there, and it's slowly going down a little bit, and now it's basically turning a little bit again. And so it did pretty much a circle around that open area in the tree line.
They have others where they get a lot closer to this helicopter on their page. And Shiye Bidzill, a.k.a. Dean Deadman, posted this about that. Because guess what, folks? He's down there, too, with them.
Oh, wow.
This drone pilot is down there with Mason Bobby Leonard. He says, I would like to take this moment and give a huge shout-out to Mason. The guy is wild. This guy is wild. This is how you fly drones in the resistance and movement. Go big and send a clear message that the eyes in the sky is always watching. And that's the video of the helicopter you were just showing.
Exactly.
And if you scroll down, you will see that there's a whole bunch of videos of that same helicopter. See that one in black and white? It looks like almost black and white.
Yeah.
Look that there is a name that this is tagged with. Who is that?
Vanessa Dundon.
A.K.A. Susie Desba.
Yep.
One of the people that had her eye shot by Morton County Police, according to her, during the protest. And you see, it tags 46 other people. We'll get to that in a minute, but it says Mariposa Village, Somisec, April 15, 2019. Could you please read the rest of that, Duke?
Yes. When they get bold, we show our fearless nature. A helicopter was hovering about less than 100 feet away from one of our villages, about 100 feet off the ground, based on other craft we can clearly identify. This seems to be military aircraft, but I could be wrong. They looked to be scanning the wooded area nearby. I don't know why they come so close to camp, other than to waste fuel. I thought the ground surveillance was a state of the art. I guess not. So the drone was deployed to observe. At one point, the helicopter pilot looked to be flying towards me. I almost descended to land, but like I started, we are fearless. Here is some rough footage from the air ground. I've also added footage from the day before, a helicopter which looked to be flying on both sides of the Rio Grande, which is the so-called border. Hope to help links, updated 4/13/19. The Carrizo Camarudo is doing almost daily actions on the border. The protest of National Butterfly Museum, L. Jackson Cemetery, and all the creatures who need the area untouched since a 5-man epidemic, not only in the world, but Texas. More on the threatened, endangered, and protested list. The cemetery have veterans from World War I, World War II, and Korea that'll be plowed over. These soldiers put their lives up for our country, and we ask now to disturb their final resting place. Army and all help is any and all help is appreciated. Please share. We must stop the insanity. They have an Amazon wish list, a GoFundMe. You can visit the camp by going to a Google Doc, a jewelry fundraiser by Julia Black Owl, Carrizo Kamakrudo t-shirt via Juan Mancias, Camps are Rising, I got a link there, and then a bunch of hashtags at the bottom.
They sure like to use that veteran thing.
Yeah.
And I feel that what they're doing is tarnishing the veterans. It feels like stolen valor to me to say that they're there to protect the veterans because they're among veterans themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Duke says he was National Guard. Some of these people have said that they are sharpshooters. Some of these people have said that they're, that they were, involved in Vietnam in the military, in the war itself. And it turns out, we later find out that they lie, that they embellished, that they were put in jail, kicked out. They didn't make it through basic because they were using cocaine.
Yeah.
We find out all these things later down the road that make me think, well, why were you put at the forefront as one of these veterans that are defending, the patriotic, protecting your land from all threats, foreign and domestic, when you're part of a group of anti-government, anti-fascist anarchists that are trying to violate the sovereignty of more than one country. How are we supposed to believe that when you work with violent felons that commit crimes like rape, kidnapping, theft, etc.? How am I supposed to buy that you're all, patriotic American veterans, American flag, respect laws type of people? Because it doesn't feel like that. And here is the Dean Deadman tags, the post that he had tags. I want you to pay attention to some of these names. Duke, you might recall that there is Cristina Moncevias, the daughter of Juan B. Moncevias. There's Joe Plouffe, one of the people that started the camps and that was working with the Caravan Support Network and directly with Evan Duke and the very first handful of people like Brendan Tucker and some of those people that were out there. Jesse Garcia. There's Juan B. Moncevias himself. And if you go down further, you will find Felicia Teeter, that actress that was talking to Orlando Cruz a while back, and keep going. And you'll see there's Dwayne Redwater, Susie Desba, Lilith Sinclair, Orlando Cruz, the drone pilot I just told you about, Shiye Bidzill, a.k.a. Dean Deadman, Frankie Orona, the guy that was on yesterday's show that was posting to the Red Rum. He's part of AIM, Ed Somisek, and Brenda Norrell. Brenda Norrell is Norrell News, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we've got some news people, we've got some AIM people, we've got some Antifa, we've got some Standing Rock water protectors, quote unquote.
Oh, yeah.
And then here is Myron Dewey. This is another person, as I told you, he's married to the Democrat platform leader, creator, Our Revolution board member, and Bernie Sanders campaign appointee, Deborah Parker. She worked in the Obama administration. That woman's husband is none other than this guy, drone pilot, who is currently involved with Evan Duke at these border camps, Myron Dewey of Digital Smoke Signals. Here he is with his drone during the time of Standing Rock.
Yep.
And here's another person that trained under Mr. Dewey, Prolific TheRapper. In this post of 2017, they're talking about him getting off of facing charges for targeting police with his drone at Standing Rock. And so it shows his real name, Aaron Sturgeon. Did I call him Sturgeon?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was wrong. about that. Hey, you can't.
You didn't. I was just joking.
I didn't.
No.
Okay. All right. Are you joking now or?
No, I was joking. You didn't call him that. I thought it was funny if you did.
Okay. And he was facing 7 years in prison. Myron was 2. But they were giving activists and drone pilots a bad name. And here is another person that I told you about that is really the one that helped bring drones and support and tens of thousands of viewers and shares. She comes from this post. Rihanna Larkin is the white face behind all of this with power and money that's really connected, that's really pulling the puppet strings. If you go to the right on this picture, on this post, you will see this was posted in Drone Gear, the page Drone Gear that she is connected to. She says, drone pilot here. I had a spiritual awakening at Standing Rock setting up home in the Red Warrior Camp. Put a pin in that. Remember the Red Warrior Camp because it's important. The Red Warrior Camp, and being welcomed with open arms at Media Hill. I met these 2 amazing people at Rihanna, at AER Rihanna. I can't really tell what that says. AER LAI Real. No, Ryle. No. RHIAANA.
Ariel Irlana.
Ariel Rihanna.
Ariel.
That's her Twitter, I guess. And drone to be wild with a 2 instead of just a B for the word B. Wild 2B. And AKA Dean Deadman Jr. I supported drone pilots when I could, whilst shooting many interviews for at Tides of Travel. I decided to sponsor Dean with our Inspire 1.55 batteries and at Drone E-Crates case for it. We will continue to support Dean with equipment as he needs it. They're illegally shooting down drones. So these people were providing the drone gear. A lot of drones were brought and just given to these people. These are the folks connected to the Bernie Sanders campaign, to this specific drone gear page. Where are these people from? Well, their page on their website says that they are based in Los Angeles, operate globally, and they have specialty dynamic camera movements, including both ground and air drones, handheld robotic stabilizers, vehicle-mounted camera platforms, and more. By the way, their operator credits for different companies include Lexus, BMW, Ford, Hulu, Apple TV, CBS, Universal, Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, and many more. They're FAA certified Part 107 commercial licenses, insured up to $5 million, and approved for union work with multiple local teams operating full-time in most major cities around the world.
Wow.
It's not a small operation, folks, and it didn't happen with just, these indigenous pilots and indigenous people. And I'm pretty sure that, people like Luis Moncevias Gutierrez isn't even indigenous. Dean, maybe.
Yeah.
They put indigenous faces in front of this. So is Susie Desiree. But what I'm telling you is that they're the ones pulling the strings here. They're the ones holding the money bags. They're the ones. Rihanna Larkin posted a video. It's very interesting. If you want to go find it, it was posted on November 22nd from Fort Yates, and she is calling out to her fellow drone pilots from Standing Rock. She wants shares and supports. How many views did this video get? If you look at the very bottom, you'll see how many views. She got 1,000 comments, 654 shares, and 18,000 views.
Wow.
That's what these people brought to Standing Rocks. You see, they could bring this kind of firepower when Dean Deadman and others like them were just getting off the ground. They got them viewers. They got them followers. Amazingly, tens of thousands at a time. But the truth is that the majority of the people that could do that, like Shailene Woodley and others of that Hollywood ilk, were the ones really that orchestrated, ran, and decided when everything was done at Standing Rock. That's the truth, folks. That's what's happening with the caravan as well. Let me share with you some links. Nemo, you can drop these. You guys can go and check these out later. I'm not going to share them with you tonight on my show. But this is a video from AJ Plus, that's Al Jazeera Plus, where Myron talks about how he was the one training people at the Standing Rock protest to become drone pilots. In truth, that white lady, Rihanna Larkin, as you saw, was the one that brought drones, gear, people, etc. She's the one. Here's another video I'm going to share with you. Article by the Daily Hayes, Miko Hayes, one of the media partners that supported all of these phonies and frauds from Standing Rock. He too is white. Mm-hmm. And he was doing an article about Myron Dewey facing jail time for stalking police with drones. So you can go check those out on your own time. But I wanted to get back to the Indian problem. The Indian problem is also run by a pretend Indian, Desiree Kane. And notice how all of these things that are supposed to have to do with Native Americans and Native American people are really run by white folks in privilege and in power, with a daddy that works at NASA, with, working for the Bernie campaign, traveling to Qatar and to all these other foreign countries. Most recently, they were in Spain and Portugal, with the the cast of chosen Native American faces that were prominent in the leadership of the Standing Rock protest. This Desiree Kane is now slinging mud for whatever reason. I'm just going to walk you folks through it, and here, let's look at both sides. Yes. Could you read this, Duke? Posted by the Indian Problem, likely by Desiree Kane herself. This is what it says.
Yes, it says, the Indian Problem. The Indian Problem. Hello, everyone. Thanks for sharing what you have. Out of concern for sending traffic to Daily Caller as a known hate site, please consider using this link instead if you want to know more about the lawsuit of a former employee of the Honor the Earth filed. This tool blocks the URL. Daily Caller doesn't get an ad revenue off of our clicks. And anyone who uses a donation link, click, I can't read it, below won't be tracked. Basically, you won't be tracked if you click on this link. Don't believe it.
Do not click.
Do not click link below won't be tracked. Thank you to the sis who helped keep us all safe. Blank the alt-right. And then there's a link. So this is just the tip of an iceberg, and it shows Winona, LaDuke. And underneath it says lawsuit details serious allegations against Anne. That's all it says there. Okay. Well, I'm going to get into this all much, much further in my next show tomorrow. But I just wanted to share that link that they don't want you to go look at from the Daily Caller. Yeah. Because Nemo shared that link. You should see it. Here's the Daily Caller screenshot of that article in which they are accusing Winona LaDuke of so many bad things. Here's the article from the Daily Caller. And what this article says is that there's a lawsuit of serious allegations against an environmental group at the heart of the pipeline movement, an environmental group founded by Native American activist Winona LaDuke and Indigo Girls. There's the other white people that are behind that organization. Wow. And Winona LaDuke, band members, has been sued by a former employee for alleged sex discrimination and reprisal. Really? The lawsuit claims Honor the Earth took no action to stop sexual harassment by a man, quote, credibly accused of using his status as a spiritual leader to commit sexual violence against Native boys. Really? The man's inappropriate sexual behavior toward boys became an open secret in the white Earth community, the lawsuit alleges. An environmental group at the heart of this pipeline movement has been allegedly silencing a former employee who reported being sexually harassed by a co-worker.
Honor the Earth failed to take these accusations seriously and engaged in sexual discrimination and reprisals against their former employee, Margaret Campbell. According to the lawsuit, which was filed in Minnesota State Court on Tuesday, Duke.
Wow.
Instead of acting promptly to protect the community from this predator, Honor the Earth tried to silence Campbell to protect the organization's reputation. Honor the Earth was founded in 1993 by members of the Indigo Girls. Who are the Indigo Girls, Duke? This is some hippy-dippy, new agey music people.
They're pretty much a dyke band, you know. I've actually went to their concerts.
A queer lady band.
Yep. Feeling, I forget the name of their big songs, but I used to listen to them all the time. In fact, I went to one of their concerts, Honor the Earth concerts here in Fargo.
I'm not surprised.
Winona LaDuke was out in front and had a table there.
And Winona LaDuke was in the front.
Yeah, and Indigo Girls, and they made lots of money. They had the Indigenous Peoples Tour. They went around the country doing concerts to raise money for the Honor the Earth, and they were supposed to give the money to Native organizations. It was a granting organization, basically became a foundation, and they funded, grassroots
They funded
campaigns.
the lady that is now helping the folks who are moving people migrating by the thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands. Because let me tell you, folks, Winona LaDuke's organization, Honor the Earth, is the, what's it called, Duke?
The what?
Fiscal agent.
Oh, yeah.
Duke, don't you know what these things are? You're the executive director.
Yeah, but I was thinking of them as something else. I was still thinking about the Indigo Girls. Yeah, they're a fiscal agent to
Fresh It,
the
legal group that gathered millions of dollars, just like the Al Otro Lado people, millions of dollars in order to help the people that they did not help. Money they pocketed, money they kept. Honor the Earth was founded by the Indigo Girls and Winona LaDuke, who ran for vice president on the Green Party ticket alongside Ralph Nader in 1996 and 2000. Folks, don't you see that Winona LaDuke and her stand at Standing Rock was Green Party 2.0? There was Jill Stein.
Mm-hmm.
There was, what's her running mate? Oh, God, I can't remember how to say it. Founded to focus on Native American environmental issues, Honor the Earth is at the center of anti-fossil fuel activism. The group organizes tribal opposition to pipeline projects across the U.S. heartland, including the Dakota Access Pipeline. I am going to get into the accusations made against these people, not only by a former friend, pal, co-organizer, and Bernie Sanders adjacent activist and tech person and PR person, Desiree Kane, and the Indian problem. We'll also hear from Winona Duke what her response is, at least on social media, to the Indian problem for calling her out about this lawsuit and the sexual harassment and abuse being alleged therein. But today, we are going to close out with that little teaser, this article in the Daily Caller. Check it out. I have more to bring you and how this is all connected to the shady dealings of these lawyers groups, funded and supported by activists that have goals and funding that is primarily backed by white people in politics with a lot of power and a lot of privilege, folks, because that's what this is really about. And you need to know what their motivations are. So thank you for being here on Mexican Crossing Lines. Please share this widely and help others understand what's really going on with the caravans and why these folks are being coached to do what they do, and how the modus operandi of these activists, even involving drones and involving these lawyer groups and involving all this funding, actually hurts individuals they claim to be helping. Not just that they're not going to complete their goal, that they're not going to follow through with the agenda that they claim, but they actually hurt people. You heard it here. These opportunists are here to take advantage, to exploit the caravan and to hurt folks in the process. You heard it here on A Mexican Crossing Lines. Thank you for being with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp
and Duke Gomez-Schempp.
Buenas noches y gracias.